Honey. Now, you may think it's straightforward. What you see is what you get. But did you know that there are some brands that can be actually more syrup than honey, and that is controversy?
So how do we tell the difference between what is real and what isn't? Well, you're bringing nutritionist Dr. Joanna McMillan. And Jo, I don't want you to drone on with this.
Girl, you're the queen.
Why do you
I get to be Queen Bee this morning.
You do. You are always our queen bee. Why do we need to be careful when choosing our honey?
Well, we do because honey has some medicinal effects, so we don't want it to be simple sugars. Honey is actually one of my favourite sweeteners, along with maple syrup, being far less processed. If you get the real thing, you're having something that's minimally, if processed at all, and it's got some medicinal benefits. It actually has some what we call polyphenols, which is a very important group of antioxidants, and we've even got some prebiotics in there. We know that real honeys can actually impact your microbiome and help you to have a really healthy microbiome. And of course, honey's long been used for its sort of immune support that might come in part from those microbiome changes, but also we know it can be good for your sore throat, and it's got antibacterial and antiviral factors in there. But you've got to have the real stuff to get those effects.
Yeah, right. So what should we be looking out for in the packaging to know we're getting the real stuff?
Well, one of the problems are that it's really, really difficult to tell. And, you know, there was a bit of a scandal a couple of years ago when honeys were tested, and I think 1 in 5 honeys actually failed the lab test to see whether they were actually real honeys that were not adulterated. So they hadn't had any other sugar syrups added to them. There is the internet is full of sort of ideas. Certainly when you put honey into a glass of water like this, so cold water, the honey should sit at the bottom of the glass. It won't very readily dissolve into the water. So that's a kind of very simple at-home test. If this had lots of simple syrups in there, it would be dissolving into the water. But it's a fairly crude test, to be honest. Clever manufacturers could get around that. So look, my top tip is, if you can, buy raw honey. So I've got some lovely raw organic honey here. If you can buy it direct from the beekeeper, so if there's beekeepers that are at farmers markets, for example, or you're out in the country and you're able to buy direct, then you know exactly who it's coming from. But for the rest of us, even for our supermarket, look for at least Australian honeys. And my other top tip is to look for pure floral honeys. So you can see that this one's a yellow box honey, this one's a blue gum honey, and then you know it's not a blended honey. And these, all of the ones that I've got here, certainly these producers all claim that it's 100% honey and it's all Australian honey, it's not blended. That gives you a much better chance of getting the real stuff.
Is the real stuff also a lot more expensive?
It is. Well, that's why honey is one of the most adulterated foods in the world. One, because yes, pure honey is expensive. Here in Australia, we've got some of the best honeys in the world, though, so it's another reason to support our local producers. And I do have, this is actually some Australian Manuka honey, which I know is a little bit controversial to our friends over in New Zealand, but New Zealand and Australian Manuka honeys are particularly expensive because they have those additional medicinal factors. So look, yes, I would certainly be using the most expensive honeys like this one for when I want to get those medicinal benefits, like I feel like I'm getting a bit of a scratchy throat. The rest of the time, if it's just honey for on your toast or on top of your porridge in the morning, then look for the best ones, would be these raw organic ones, but certainly all of these Australian honeys are going to give you some of those lovely benefits.
Great advice there, Jo. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Got to get your honey right.
Got to get your honey right, honey.
Got to get it right, honey. Hey, honey.